Hey guys, it's Mark McCafferty. Just want to touch base with some minor scales. So we talked about major scales, circle fifths, and the patterns there, and your whole half, and all that kind of stuff. I have a little different approach to minors in that I like to think about how they're related. So for instance, what I just played, of course, was C major, and then C minor, right? Natural minor, and then harmonic. And we'll get into the types here in a second, and melodic at the end. But C major and C minor are known as parallel scales. So C minor is the parallel minor of C major because they have the same tonic or first note as each other. So C major and C minor. You can also have a relative minor. So a relative minor is a minor scale that has the same key signature as C. Now that's really interesting. So C major, a minor key that has the same key signature, I'll just let you know, is A. See how it had the same number of sharps and flats, as in 0. So you can think about minors as, a major scale with a flat third, a flat sixth, and a flat seventh. Some people that really works for. I never really knew it that way. You can also think of minors in a pattern of whole, half, whole, half, whole, and I never memorized that either. The way that really worked for me is knowing my major scales inside and out. So I can play C major pretty well, and all the major scales I know, and I've got the shape on the piano. Like my piano teachers might be after me about not playing the correct fingerings, but you know what? That's why I'm a percussionist and not a professional pianist. Anyway, I know the shapes, right? Well, if you go to any major scale, you can play your different church modes because there's, Ionic, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, and Locrian. And when we started talking about that, I was like, boom, whoa, I can just play the major scales, but I can start on different notes. Well, if I'm thinking along those lines, if I'm in C and I go up to the sixth note, that is the relative minor. Right? Works for any major scale. Another way to think about that is a major third down. Right? There's your relative minor. So let's see how that works in F. Here's F. Right? Well, if we go down to minor third, it's D. Play D to D with F major key signature. Whoa, you're getting minor scales all over the place. Let's go to D flat even, right? Here's the major. Go down to minor third, and that uses the D flat key signature. And that, of course, would be B flat minor, which is the relative minor of D flat. So, pretty neat. Now, on the other hand, how do you figure out if you're on, say, we're in B flat? Oh, let's do a different one, just to be different. Say you're on G. And you want to know what key signature you would use to do G minor. Well, you go up a major, or minor third. Because the difference between major chords and minor chords is, of course, the third is lowered. So if you're thinking major chord and you think minor, that's the key signature you're going to use to get that minor scale. And you're like, all right, Mark, cool, I got it. You just play, the note to the octave of that note, and you use a different key signature. That's cool, I got it. And if you missed that, rewatch the video a bunch or look at some of the links that are available easily. Just search in minor scale, especially if you look at like musictheory.net or teoria.com and so forth. And you're like, okay, so I got this major and this minor chord, but at the beginning of the video, you played something like a harmonic minor and a melodic minor. Well, that's real simple this way. So if you had memorized, the half step pattern, well, you got to memorize a new one for harmonic minor and a new one that changes for melodic minor. I don't do any of that. I think about, so say I'm in G minor again. The harmonic minor borrows the seventh from the major key. Well, in G major, the seventh is F sharp. So it just steals that seventh and puts it over here. And I really like that way of thinking of things, because there's actually a lot of that goes on in music theory, where it just kind of steals something from another key and throws it over here because, somebody decided that sounded good. Because the harmonic one comes about when you're playing in G minor, right? And you got this chord progression, and maybe you're going to the 2, and maybe you're trying to go to the 5. Oh, but usually you would do this. And you notice that F sharp came in to make that 5 minor, so that you get this motion here. Oh yeah, that's a good sound. That's a good sound. Well, that borrows the F sharp. That raises that seventh, or borrows it from the major scale. So here's G natural minor. It's just G to G using B flat. Here's G harmonic minor. It's G to G using B flat, and you steal the regular seventh and shove it in there. Now, some people would also then use melodic minor, and just listen to it once. You're like, man, that scale's different on the way back down than it is on the way up. That's right. I never said these rules had to make sense. It's just, an observation of common practice, of a common practice era and a specific style of music. And so a lot of things get based off of it. Regardless, what happened there is we borrowed more of the major key. We kept the minor, and then instead of the E flat for B flat key signature, we went to the E and the F sharp to lead into that tonic. And then we went back down the minor scale. And it's just a common practice in that it just leads to that tonic so nicely. Whereas it's kind of, you're kind of, there's not as much leading your ear to that G in a natural minor as there is in that melodic minor or in the harmonic minor. Or at least that's the perception some of the time. So anyway, send me some questions if you got any. Put them in the comments. I'll see them eventually, that kind of thing. But yeah, that's how I think about minors. I think about where the major scale is. And I think about, okay, the sixth note or a minor third down, same thing. That's the relative minor because it shares the key signature. If I'm on the major scale again and I want to make it minor, I think about the chord and I go to the minor third and I use that key signature. That's the natural minor. I borrow the seventh from the major to make it harmonic minor. And then I borrow a couple more notes, the sixth and the seventh, for the melodic minor. So anyway, I hope that helps. I've found a lot of people be like, whoa, that's a great way to think of it. And I wanted to share that with you because it really helped me get through all these minors, because if you're just trying to memorize them straight out, it's like 36 scales or something. There's only 12 majors, and so that's easy to memorize. But if you can just make the minor a modification of that major, then you really didn't have to memorize anything. You just knew a pattern and made it work. And that can be really helpful in music as a whole, because lots of music is patterns. Anyway, catch you next time.